Quick warning for listeners before we begin. This story acknowledges the existence of sex.
Yeah, so apparently before we started drinking tequila and champagne, this song was bottom 3.
And now it's top 3.
I mean, hearing it right there, I was like, this is a fucking jam.
All the way to the top.
Hello, Mother, and welcome to Buzzin' Cousins, the show on the internet, on the YouTubes, about the movies we watch and the music we listen to. I am Dennis.
And I'm Holt, and we are back to talk about the band Dawes.
Yes, indeed. By popular demand.
They just released a new album.
Yeah.
And also, for some reason, out of the 46 videos we have on our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
our Dawes video is by far the most viewed.
Yeah.
We have one sneaky baseball show that we caught lightning in a bottle with.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's definitely the most viewed.
Yeah.
And it's by far the most engaged with.
Yeah.
It has more dislikes than it has likes currently.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah. People responded to it.
Yeah.
For
It was
whatever
polarizing.
reason.
Yeah.
So I think the Dawes thing was like, there's enough people out there that really care about this band.
Yeah.
That will go, and especially they have this live thing. Like, so many people praise their live performances.
Yeah.
So I think you have people on YouTube looking up Dawes live stuff.
And they come across our video.
And then they stumble upon our video.
Interesting. If you're interested in that first video, you should watch it. It'll give you a good idea of what we were trying to say about that. We should mention, just for anyone who hasn't seen it, that the reason it has more dislikes than likes is because we spent 23 minutes talking about how amazing this band is, and then 6 talking about how much we didn't like their most recent album, We're All Gonna Die.
Yeah.
So the last quarter of the episode is us pretty gently saying this thing is lame. We think this thing is lame.
Right.
And then wrapping up the show, for what it's worth, with this thank you, Dawes.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I think the reason it was so polarizing is because we said we didn't like a thing.
Yeah.
And so now we're kind of here to talk about the new record. The first record to come out since that video.
Yeah.
And that record's called Passwords.
And it's really important to me to tell anyone that cares to watch this that we have not discussed this album at all.
Right.
Until right now. So I don't even know when we reveal how we feel about it, which I'm really excited about. I have no idea what Dennis is going to think.
Outside of
likewise.
pure statements of fact, Holt and I have not said anything to each other about how we feel about this record.
I think we, per tradition, we drink the tequila and champagne.
Sure. So we've got a bottle of tequila here that I poured into this bottle here and refilled with champagne.
Right, because when the tequila runs out, you put it in a canteen, and then you fill this one with champagne.
So, the last Dawes record, We're All Gonna Die, had the big lead-in single was called When the Tequila Runs Out. The chorus was, when the tequila runs out, we'll be drinking champagne. Mm-hmm. When the last record was released, the frontman of this band, Taylor Goldsmith, and Mandy Moore, pop starlet and actress Mandy Moore, had just started a pretty intense relationship.
Well, they met on Instagram.
Yes, they did. Which has since developed into a sort of protracted engagement, and they are going to be getting married very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think very much sets the tone for the record. Did you find that to be true?
Yeah.
Yeah. They climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which is fine. I mean, that's actually awesome. But I just wanted to read a quote here. He says about their approach to the mountain. We were driving on the bus looking at the mountain for the first time. She got emotional. She, cried. It was a spiritual moment, more or less. And I was sitting there looking at her I'm not having that.
Did you by any chance watch the interview?
No.
It kind of paints a better picture.
Oh, okay.
She got emotional. She cried. She's like, "This is I'm humbled and I'm, it's it was a spiritual moment more or less.
It's more like, I'm not having that.
He's not having that experience.
Reaction. Yeah.
And I was like sitting there looking at her like, I'm not having that. So as we got there, I had to sort of like find out what that meant to me and find out where that respect was coming from, where that fear of nature was coming from.
So today, I watched Mandy Moore give a tour of her and Taylor Goldsmith's mid-century modern masterpiece.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Mandy Moore and welcome to my home. Come on in.
Their house is awesome.
Yeah.
And she talks about, her husband being a musician, and that's why they wanted a piano. She's also a musician.
And she's formerly married to a very famous musician as well.
Who was that?
Ryan Adams.
Did they marry?
She was formerly living with. Yeah, I think so.
They could have. They definitely dated. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool house.
Yeah.
Great pool. Like to have a pool party with them. I was wondering, like, your mind wanders a little bit on these things. Like, if you're having a pool party at Taylor Goldsmith's house, drinks are probably being had at some point. Do you think he whips out an acoustic guitar at any point?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What do you think he plays?
Covers. But really, like, ridiculous album cuts. Like Jackson Browne, Warren Zevon album cuts.
Man, I think you're right.
Uh-huh.
In the house tour that Mandy Moore gave me today, she shows this library. And she's like, these are all Taylor's books. And she's like, she basically says she's jealous of the rate at which he reads.
This makes me want to talk for some reason about the way he looks right now.
I know.
So I think we talked in the last episode, I don't know if we did or not, but it's true that from album 1, from North Hills to We're All Gonna Die, the Taylor Goldsmith evolution of hairstyles was getting out of control. It was just like, it was normal hair, and then it was like a little bit messy, and then it got to the point where it just looked fucking silly.
Right
around the time of the last record. And now he's got really closely cropped hair and this just insane mountain man beard.
It's like girthy under.
I get the sense that he is a real morose person. And I don't get the sense, though this album is very different than all of the others tonally, like lyrically and I don't get the sense that Love has necessarily changed that. Like, I think he still broods.
Yeah, I think that's apparent in this album. He has this, like, he's happily in love now, apparently. He's getting married soon.
Yeah. He can't love her any more than he does.
But, like, some of his, like, love songs come off as, like, troubled love songs.
Absolutely. I think you're right.
It's really interesting because some of them are, like, really sweet. And then there'll be something you're like, oh, wait, is that sweet?
Yeah. But when you were talking about going over there for a pool party, I was thinking, I bet that's not that fun.
Right.
Because
Taylor's inside. If you guys could just be quiet, have fun, make yourself at home.
Yeah, I like that. I like his music, and I like a lot of what he has to say. But he just seems real sad about it.
Yeah.
All the way to the top.
2 years on, about a year since we released that first video, my feelings on the album We're All Gonna Die remain more or less intact. In preparation for this episode, I forced myself to listen to that album all the way through. I think I got through it almost twice in one sitting. Just to, like, decide. Like, I mean, I already decided, but I wanted to be as informed as possible and as objective as possible. And it was scary because it goes, one of us, we're all gonna die, roll with the punches, picture of a man. I was like, uh-oh. Because I found myself, like, liking it in a way that I hadn't. And then track 5 is Less Than 5 Miles Away.
Oh.
And I was like, whew. And then track 6 is Roll Tide. And then track 7 is When the Tequila Runs Out. And I was in the clear by that point. I was just like, oh yeah, no, I wasn't wrong.
I've never come around to that album. In fact, just recently, right before we walked in here, listened to a song from that album.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be the first time I've heard that song since I've seen it performed live.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Okay. Some of side A I can appreciate more than I did. But overall, I still think it's a disappointing record to me and a departure that, I wasn't necessarily super pleased about.
Yeah. I more or less agree with you, although I think I'm more harsh on it.
Yeah.
Like I think you could throw it all away and keep the first track.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah. So, Passwords just came out. The new album by Dawes.
Yeah.
The new album by rock band Dawes.
Yeah.
You've been listening to it pretty intensely for the past couple weeks.
Yep.
As have I. Would you like to tell the fine people at home and me for the first time what you think of the album Passwords?
Yeah. I think it is a step in the right direction.
Okay.
I don't think this album is back to form or anything like that, but I think they recovered from We're All Gonna Die.
Okay.
I think it's much better than We're All Gonna Die.
No,
People are like, keep listening to it, it grows on you. And I just didn't have the tolerance for
the
We're
last
All Gonna Die.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't gonna grow on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to put the effort into this album, and it's paid off. Like, I can put this album on and just kind of step away.
Okay.
So, Dennis, what do you think?
I love it.
Nice, okay.
I love
Cool.
the album Passwords by the band Dawes.
Nice. Okay.
I
wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either. I got it the day it came out. I listened to it twice that day, and I was fine with it. I wouldn't even have called it a step in the right direction. I just thought at least it isn't offensive to my sensibility as much as the last one.
Right.
I think the best way to explain to you and everyone else how much I like this record is that if this record had been as off-putting to me as We're All Gonna Die, even in preparation for this video, I would have listened to it as infrequently as possible and then come to the table just dismissing it and saying, fuck it, and yeah, I listened to it a few times for this.
Right.
But I couldn't stand it
Right.
because when the tequila runs out less than 5 miles away. This album, I cannot stop playing it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call it a return to form either. Not that a band should feel compelled to do that.
They're always evolving.
Yeah. It is its own thing, but it's way less of a departure than the last one.
Yeah.
It's whether or not it's a step in the right direction, it's certainly a step back, stylistically.
Yeah.
And it's just super solid.
Yeah.
I will do your interview, try to explain what I'm going through, give you something to read into in a million different ways.
The singles came out. And when the singles came out, I was like,
You were drinking champagne?
no.
When the single came out?
Yeah, when the singles came out,
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling a thing.
Mm-hmm. We listened to them at the same time,
Yeah.
separately,
Yep.
and sort of texted each other our first impressions.
Yeah.
And neither of us were super pumped. Then we got together a week later, went to lunch, and I played those songs again, and we both had already warmed up to Crack the Case at that point.
Ignoring all of the remedies, believing all of the rumors, with their endless database. I wanna sit with my enemies and say we should have done this sooner, while I look them in the face. Maybe that will crack the case.
Like, it started, and you were like, what the fuck is this James Taylor bullshit?
Yeah.
And then two-thirds of the way
James
through
Taylor
it,
Goldsmith.
you were like, that's funny. Two-thirds of the way through it, you were like, nah, it's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
So you were already warming up to it back then.
Yep.
The first couple times I heard it, I thought it was silly. It starts with this very 80s, early 90s Pink Floyd, ambient slide guitar keyboard thing
Yeah.
that slowly drifts into an 80s James Taylor sound.
James Taylor Goldsmith.
Thank you again. and I really like it.
I know.
I really like it.
So this is one of the singles that was released.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this James Taylor bullshit?
Yeah.
And I love it. It's my favorite song on the record.
Yeah.
And I think it is kind of being pushed as the song on the record,
Yeah.
which is fine. It probably should be.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, there's... I don't want to, push anything on you, Dennis, but I think you feel the same way. Sometimes when something is billed as the best song on the record, I have an immediate pushback.
Absolutely.
But I think this is the best song on the record.
I think it might be.
And it's awesome. Like tonight, I was like getting ready for this.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ann, check out this song. I
Yeah.
cranked it at
Yeah.
the house. And she was like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
We're living in the future. Well, so shine a little light. So living in the future, makes me so curious how they're going to open their next album, because to me, the last two albums open kind of similar.
Yeah.
The rockingest songs were they kicked off with.
Yeah.
And that's not the case in their other albums.
No. In some cases,
It's almost the opposite, yeah. So it really makes me curious how they're going to open up their next record.
All the reviews say this is the only song on this record that sounds like this. And that's true. I stick very much to my initial description of this song upon my first or second hearing of it, that it sounds like they commissioned Dawes to write a theme song for a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
We're living in the future, so shine a little light. It may not make it any better. I'm just hoping that it might. I'm not talking about forever. How about just getting through the night? We're living in the future.
And then, like, the more I listen to it, it's like, oh, this is a funny James Bond song.
Yeah.
We're living in the future, so shine a little light. It may not make it any better. I'm just hoping that it might. I'm not talking about forever. How about just getting through the night? We're living in the future, so shine a little light.
Stay Down, I'm fine with. I don't dislike it. But it's not one that I'm super pumped about.
Yeah. It's got that weird chord change in the chorus. The first time I heard it, I was like, this is gross. Like, let's stay down with the head in the cloud.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. And it's got these really echoey, reverby, like guitar noodly things. It just sounds very much like something off of Beck Mutations.
Yeah.
Or even Sea Change. The Nigel Godrich Beck albums. And if they had just made their Sea Change or their Mutations, I would have been fine with that.
Trying to feed the fire.
No. In the past couple of weeks, Holt will text me occasionally and be like, God, I want to be talking to you about this record. And one of the things that I hoped inspired one of those texts was this song features the first of two insane solos. I don't know if you remember, but in this one it's electric sitar.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Can we? Yeah. Oh yeah, it totally is.
When I heard that, I was like, okay, that's funny.
Oh man, see, when I first heard that song, I was like, that sucks, and now I like want to listen to the rest of that song.
All the way to the top.
So the whole record, and I'm not the first to observe this, the whole record sort of honors this weird late 70s, early 80s production style. Mm-hmm. We talked about it on Crack the Case, the sort of James Taylor-y, Pink Floyd-y thing. This one, I don't know, I used to have an electronic drum kit that was made out of these things called Simmons pads. That was the brand. Mm-hmm. And you've seen them, they're like black and they're hexagons.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It sounds like that's what he's playing on the track. It's just like... And it's really a silly song. It's a feature with the girls from the band Lucius, which the producer of this album, who is also the producer from the first two records, Jonathan Wilson, and Lucius toured with Roger Waters on his most recent tour. Jonathan Wilson played guitar and sang all the David Gilmour parts, and Lucius did all the background, like those famous background female vocals on the old Pink Floyd stuff. So I think that's probably where they met up. And so this song has a feature with Lucius, and I've read in a couple places that it's like the low spot of the record. It's very, very saccharine and silly, and I love it.
Will you play it for a second? I'm having a hard time placing it.
You get me through your red glass.
Like,
While the yellow cab waits, we've been thinking about our song.
And this is the one they started.
Too long.
yeah, and so the chorus is...
Let's see.
The mistakes we should have made. And the girls, yay! It's very, very silly.
And this is definitely the most upbeat second to...
right.
Yeah.
The first song.
Kind of forgot
I mean,
about
it's
that.
even more upbeat. It's a more upbeat, but it's not as rocking.
Yeah.
The last track on the record is Time Flies Either Way, where he just abandons rhyme scheme altogether.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like he's singing Stream of Consciousness. It's very strange phrasing, very strange lyrics. It's very nice sounding.
Yeah, I like it.
Second and final insane solo of the album, soprano saxophone.
Oh, yeah.
Which also comes in the holes during the verses and is kind of side-splitting.
Yeah. It actually is a little, dare I say, Dave Matthews reminiscent.
It does. I thought that today.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no. I saw my boyhood reach conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of gross.
That's funny. I was thinking about that one. I think today I was like, huh. Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, that's kind of a bummer.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
You
I
know?
don't know. Well, I guess it depends on how you interpret it. Is it him reaching maturity, or is it him losing his innocence, or is it him just coming a bunch? I don't really know.
Yeah. Or is it him not coming a bunch?
Is it him not coming at all? Is it his failure? Is it his failure to come?
Does he not come anymore?
So there's no Griffin feature on this record.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer.
Yeah. I can't get over the conversation we just had. Is he not coming anymore? Also, I was going to say, I think we...
People who are in the know about Dawes are making a big to-do about how this record is produced by the same guy who produced their first two records. Let it out. It's okay.
Sorry, it just came back all of a sudden. Oh, okay.
People who are in the know about Dawes are making a big to-do about the fact that the producer on this record is the same guy that's on the first two records. No, it's okay. It's funny.
I let it get back in.
Yeah. People who know things about Dawes and talk about Dawes are feel the need to bring up the fact that this album is produced by the same guy who produced the first 2 records. I can't do it, man. Maybe I shouldn't hate him because I don't know what he's lived through. But he has given me.
He's given you a taste.
Many tastes.
All the way to the top.
I said it in the first episode about Dawes. I think that Griffin is a star.
Right.
And I just like it whenever he is the lead on his songs. Or even when he does, like, on Hey Lover, they trade verses. And it's really nice, and it's just not there on this
And
record.
just by virtue of this being, like, a slower album, you don't get Griffin even, like, shining as a percussionist.
No, his drumming is very subdued on this record.
Right.
It's nice, though.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, he's serving the music, which
Right.
is really nice. But, yeah, there aren't any... Because he's killer.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know it necessarily from this record. If the ratio of, like, up-tempo songs to down-tempo songs on the first couple of albums was the same as on this one, I don't think I'd ever would have gotten into Dawes.
Right.
This is a very, like, subdued record, like dynamically.
When you're, like, playing Dawes for someone, a common reaction is, like, it's a little whiny. You know,
what
like,
I thought. Like,
yeah.
it took me forever to get into them because of that.
And so this would not be the record to try and, like, disprove that.
Like,
because
100%
it's
agree.
very whiny.
Yes. There's 2 kinds of people I could recommend this record to. Dawes fans and my mom.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a When My Time Comes. It doesn't have a My Way Back Home.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a,
And sometimes that's okay.
well, in this case it is.
Yeah.
And I had this revelation a good 10 days ago, and I've been very excited to tell you this
Yeah.
following thing. It also doesn't have it doesn't have all your favorite bands.
Yes.
It doesn't have a little bit of everything. It doesn't have a list song. There's one.
There kind of is a list.
There's a list song.
Yeah.
And it's called
I'm Never Gonna Say Goodbye.
Yes.
Right?
If you'll indulge me, I've pulled up the lyrics to it, to the last chorus.
Yeah.
Okay? And like the stock exchange for the billionaires, like a convert singing his morning prayers, from the scientist to the polar bears, I'm never gonna say goodbye. Like the last few boys at the Alamo. That's the one that really gets me. Actually,
No,
like
this-
Cusack holding up the radio. What Juliet hears from Romeo. I'm never gonna say goodbye.
Yeah. I think, like, 8th grade Holt would have been like, oh my god.
Exactly!
Oh my god.
That's
Music
exactly
is
right.
over.
That's exactly right.
But man, I can't do it.
Yeah,
The Cusack line is just...
it's bad. It's James Taylor Goldsmith at his most, like, least.
He talks about how he wants to be the lead singer of this band Dawes that releases 20 records. And when he said that, I was like, God, I hope that's true. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of hope that's true.
I do too.
Like, I would love to hear 20 records by this band at
Absolutely.
this point.
Even if the next 8 of them were not my favorite.
Yeah.
I like living in a world where Dawes exists, regardless of how I feel about that one record that
Right.
still isn't very good.
Yeah.
I think the takeaway of this whole thing for me is that if this is the new Dawes, I'm kind of okay with that.
James Taylor, Goldsmith, nice work. And the rest of the guys, Dawes fans out there, comment.
Yeah.
Comment away. So comment away.
Fire away.
So Dennis, do you think, I'm sure all of our fans out there are wondering, does this mean Buzzins and Cousins is back?
All the way to the top.